Okay, let's begin. We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Let's take roll call, Madam Clerk.
Tom Duffy.
Here.
Stacy Hessel.
Here.
John Righeimer.
Here.
Brian Bissonette. I see Brian online.
Here.
Chris Rusk.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful. And then the meeting agenda has been set. Unless somebody has any additions or corrections, that will stand as presented. Public comments. So I guess I'll pledge allegiance.
We're taking over your meeting. United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then as far as certification on compliance, Madam Clerk.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Okay, thank you. And then again, the meeting agenda is meeting set. Any public comments? Anybody online?
Nobody here.
No? Okay, assume there's none. Let's move on then to the minutes from the last meeting. Can we have a motion to approve them as presented? Stacy?
I will make that motion. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? No. Very well, they're approved as presented. Moving on to number 8, Surrey County Ag. Anybody here from the Ag? No.
No, but there's there.
And then moving on to Wisconsin Extension Department. Nobody here.
I can, oh, no, never mind. He's from Northwest Regional Planning.
Okay. And Hayward Lakes Visitor Convention Bureau.
He's online.
Okay.
Yes, I am here, Tom. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking you for funding us another year. We're so thrilled about that. I wanted to start, I did the report just on ATV because last month Chris had asked about why ATV didn't show up in our SEM dashboard. And so I talked to the firm that we use when we buy all those words and things. And the keywords, well, basically it's kind of hard to explain it, but the keywords that people are looking for ATVing seems to be they're finding what they need and we don't have to pay for the search engine because they know exactly what they want. So if you kind of look to the second graph there that says Google SEM dashboard for ATVHayward.com. These are the channels and how they're finding us. So if you add the organic search, which organic search just means that you get traffic to your website that's not paid for. That means they might have put ATV and Hayward and it just comes to us. Nobody else is buying those words. That's the best way for our users to get to us because it's free. But if you add the organic search and the direct search, that's 67.9% of people are finding the information they need without us paying any money to anything. So we're pretty excited about that, and which makes sense because we have ATVHayward.com is different than HaywardLakes.com because ATV is so popular. We started our own website. And then 22% is a referral, which is something that we paid for in some kind of ad that maybe turned around and came to our site, which would be like maybe if we had an ad in online at St. Paul Pioneer Press, and then they were on their site and then they linked to our site with an ad they saw, would be a referral. And then I also wanted to let you know that social media is 5.8%. And we had a pretty big spike on August 12th, which was a Travel Wisconsin ATV post. So we pay, it's $450 for each post. We paid to have actually ATV highlighted in a post that Travel Wisconsin sent out to their viewers that highlighted our area. And then the other thing was we had 3.5% in other. And that we did some B-roll video, which just means it's some video of ATVing. And we ran that on WDIO, which is the Duluth Superior Market. And they also could pick some other areas for us. So we went into Minneapolis and we went into Eau Claire through their market. And the highest traffic day was May 10th, and that was after Discover Wisconsin aired again. That was the third airing for Discover Wisconsin, which was an ATV themed show. So if you turn to the next page, I just wanted to do a little more. The whole thing is just gonna be on ATV, and just to kind of give you guys what we do for them, do for the sport. So we distribute and pay full postage for any map requests. And it's $1.36 to mail them out. And last year we mailed 1,034 maps, which is, totaling over $1,400 just to mail the maps. We also hand the maps out at shows, and we distribute 3,000 that went to other information centers and all the sport shows that we go to. It does include snowmobiling, so it's not 100% just ATV. Also, we paid for that Discover Wisconsin episode. It was called Tales on the Trails, which aired 3 times. We have a wonderful digital map that they provide, the Sawyer County Snowmobile Alliance, ATV and Snowmobile Alliance provide to us. And they've now taken one map so we can have just ATVing on the ATV site. We post the trail report everywhere. It goes on Hayward Lakes, it goes on ATV tracks, it goes on Travel Wisconsin. And then for print advertising, we spend about $5,200, and those are some of the different places that we advertise: the Star Tribune, Iowa Sportsman. A lot of Iowa people visit us in the fall after their crop season is done. So Iowa is a big market for us for ATVing. Let's see what else we got. On social media, we constantly advertise them on Facebook and Instagram. We include trail information and links in our quarterly tourist newsletter, which reaches over 44,000 subscribers. We are constantly funding and coordinating photos and video, so we have everything fresh, and that's what everybody wants, everything new and right at their fingertips. We work closely with the Snowmobile Alliance. We get a detailed report from Kathy every month at the Hayward Lakes board meetings. We provided some goodie bags at the AWS Directors Conference. We print, the ATV city map. The city map had a few changes before the new maps were printed. So we did kind of blow those up a little bit, because we have a lot of people who come in and ask, how do I get around in the city? And so we do those maps. We're also involved with this IPEC, which I was just at a meeting last week, and it sounds like we're going to try to change the name. So I'm so excited about that. And we haven't decided. We're doing a little contest to see what to change our name to. But we do an ATV corridor map with them, with the 11 counties, so people can get from our county to other counties with just ease. We're also members of the Wisconsin ATV Association and North Country Riders, and we have very knowledgeable staff in our information center that constantly, I would think almost daily, are answering questions for ATVing. Any questions on ATV promotion?
Anybody have any questions? No?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
We have a copy of that printout. Can we get a copy of that?
It's attached.
It's in the agenda.
Is it? Okay. Okay. Anything further? Okay, if not, let's move on then to Northwest Regional Planning. Sheldon?
Ken.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, you're on.
All right, very good. Well, thank you all for having us this morning. Sheldon sends his greetings. He was unable to attend, but I'll just give a quick review of regional planning activities. This Wednesday, I believe it's the 7th, because today's the 5th, right? Or is it the 6th today?
Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday the 7th. Okay, Wednesday the 7th at Flat Creek, we're having our semi-annual meeting. If you're interested in attending, you all are welcome to join. Just contact Shauna in our office to let her know that you'll be there. The event starts at 9:30 and it runs until about noon, and there's a lunch provided afterwards. But we'll be able to just hear from different bounce back winners from the region for the Main Street Bounce Back program. We have a couple other speakers at this event, and it's usually a pretty good opportunity to network and meet with different elected officials and county officials such as yourselves, county chairs from across the 10-county region, mayors, people of that nature. So it's a good event, very informational, and it's geared toward getting as much activity happenings out at regional planning, which obviously impacts all of us to the constituency. So that's coming up 9:30 to noon on Wednesday at Flat Creek or Flat Creek Inn in Hayward. Other items with regional planning, the Main Street Bounce Back Award program is wrapping up. If you know of any businesses who may qualify, have them send in their complete application packet by December 27th. That's the day of final review, and all the money that to awarded participants needs to be out by the 31st or the 30th. Since the 31st is a holiday, I believe, everything needs to be out by the 30th, and then the program will not be extended as far as we know. Other than that, other activities at regional planning are coming along. Our housing program is getting a lot of inquiries, and we're getting a lot of help out with people rehabbing their homes. Obviously, we're assisting Sawyer County as well with that program and helping Sawyer County get their money out, as well as the regional planning money, and then the 10 counties that go with that. As far as my revolving loan fund economic development, first I want to welcome Andy Alvarado back on our Northwest Wisconsin Regional Economic Development Fund Committee. Andy was instrumental with the committee since the beginning, and now he is representing Sawyer County for the Sawyer County position. After Todd Knutson stepped down, retired, Andy's filling his spot. So we're very fortunate to have Andy back on the board. I've had 10 inquiries from Sawyer County businesses since September. And I, along with the regional planning staff, met with Monica and Kate to see where the Sawyer County and LCO Economic Development Corporation is in terms of their future plans and visions, and we're very excited to have both of them running full force with that, and we're looking forward to ongoing discussions relating to economic development with them, as well as Heart of the North matters. I know Monica stepped in to become the chair of the Heart of the North Committee. It's a legislative lobbying advocacy group from the 4 counties of Sawyer, Rusk, Washburn, and Barron. And we are going to the Capitol in February. Stacy's on that committee as well, and so is Andy. So we're really excited to have good Sawyer County representation moving forward on that group. Chris Ruckdashel is on the committee as well. For tourism, we cover tourism, economic development, public health, education, transportation, and economic development. So we cover quite a few different aspects of issues and topics that impact northern Wisconsin. Last thing is that I'm working directly with one business in kind of the downtown Hayward area on an expansion. So looking at an exterior upgrade as well as remodeling the interior of their building. So that'll be really good for downtown Sawyer County, or downtown Hayward, I mean. So that'll be great. And that's my report at this time.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Let's move on then to economic development. Okay,
Thanks, Ken, because he kind of talked about some of the things I was going to mention as well. But we're just continuing to meet with people throughout the county and different organizations, and also assist some businesses with bounce back grants. And currently, I'm not sure if Ken mentioned this, but we have 30 so far that have received the grant in the county, and then I know of personally like 3 more that will be submitted before the time. So that's nice that's so nice for our county. So we're continuing to improve the website. And we did have the placemaking event at LCO. And this was a great time that we had probably about 12 people that came. And it was a good time to provide a space for people to communicate and listen to each other. Really, it was really great. We visited the ballpark and just kind of walked around and came back, and people learned about different projects that were already going on. And so it kind of was a nice facilitated discussion of, what people think should happen and then what could happen. And then, I don't know, we received a couple, thank yous just for allowing the space for people to talk about it, which was pretty neat. That will then go into with Jordan St. Germain, she's in the grant department there, and kind of she'll use that information to, move forward. I think they're going to apply for the Vibrant Spaces grant. And of course, we'll support them if they do so. Another note on that, we're working with Jim Miller, Jim Nats, and Chris from the chamber to potentially, find a little spot that we can apply for that grant. So there's already work being done, and we can apply the grant and maybe move some projects forward. So, let's see. Well, we welcome Andy to our board as an at-large member starting this month. So that's really exciting for us. And thank you for that. And then our meetings are, just so you know, every second Thursday of each month. So, of course, I'll be attending, Monica and I will be attending the Northwest Regional Planning semi-annual meeting as Ken will be there too, and anybody else. So, let's see. Andy, working with Andy Donahue, which we were just mentioned, also to create a time where people in this county can understand what he does and that can help their business go forward. So that's, the center of, let's see, I've got a couple notes here. The Small Business Development Center, and then the Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. And of course, along with that, there was the Duluth Entrepreneurship Fund now has $8 million for 12 counties in Northwest Wisconsin. That was announced in October. I'm not sure why. We're just kind of learning about some things here and there, but also I'll be able to put out some information about how that can help us, because there's some money available for entrepreneurs in our county now. I think that'll be in the paper this week too. Let's see, that's really about it for now. And then, I could talk more about things, but things are moving along nicely, and appreciate being here. So,
Out of those 33 grant applications, how many do you expect will get the grant?
yeah, the 30 have already been.
Oh, they already been.
Yep, and then about 3 more that I know that I'm working with personally. And then there's others who they go through Northwest Regional Planning. Kate Costello helps them with you could send an inquiry and then they'll reach out to you. So there's people that could be applying that we don't even.
So that sounds like 5%, and if you apply, you're
kind of get the grant. Yeah,
the grant.
and there's a lot of money left. So
They pay that back or they don't pay it
no, it's free money, or not free money, but it comes from somewhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
back? Whole nother story.
yeah.
How many members do you have on your board?
On our board is
Active or non-active?
there we go.
Well, that's the next question. Who are they?
Okay, let me get a paper, a list if that's okay.
Kind of a salad bowl from the
What's
whole.
the average of the grant, those 30?
10,000.
Oh, this is
Straight 10,000, yeah.
No.
And one of the gals that her last name is Gerber, that she had the hair salon, Pam Gherkin. She's like, it was crazy. She applied for it and then she just got this check in the mail. It was kind of one of those is it real or not?
Throw it away.
But so thankful because she started a new business, and what a great little a great injection into her business. So okay, let's see here. Okay, Mary Jo Becker, who's at Franson Bank, Luke Burrell, the hospital, Stacy Hess, Monica Johnson, Mark Lundeen, Craig Olson, Ed Peters, Chris Ruckshedal, Mike Stamp, Jordan St. Germain, Jessica Wagner, Schultz, Amanda Wilson. And then Jim Miller attends all the time.
Let's see.
And there's maybe a couple.
And then Andy.
And Andy now at large.
At large, no addition.
And Tweet Schumann. There's some, that was the last people who attended, so.
And where do you meet?
We have we have just recently been offered this space to meet. But we do mostly virtual. So
Okay.
we're looking at moving back in person because it's time. And I think everybody, it's kind of spread throughout the county, so the virtual option is nice for people who have to drive from winter, like Amanda would have to come from winter, so.
So we were meeting out at the college.
Okay.
But then that was when Jessica was the president and she could set up the conference room. But now that Monica's the president, there was not a available space.
Okay.
Let's see here. Tweet Schuman, Michelle Bowden from the governing board. And see, Dr. Leo Carlson from Novato. And Rob.
Is the
Sussman,
board pretty active or?
H&R. I'd say like half, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we'll be more active because we're kind of becoming more active
Yeah.
as an organization, and so piques the interest of people, and it's been,
Yeah,
there's
good.
good positive momentum, so.
Okay,
Tara Gopi, that's it.
okay, good. Thank
And
you.
then Dalton,
Anybody have any
sorry.
questions?
Dalton Hessel is as a marketing person too, marketing coordinator for us, so.
Good.
He and I do a lot of work together.
Okay, good. Thanks,
Yeah,
Kate.
you're welcome.
Okay, let's go to the libraries. Molly, you're on board.
Okay, this just has, we don't do as many programs in December, but I did want you to know that we're applying for some new grants and they are specified. And we need, but this is good because they're specified for some things that we actually need. And one sad thing I have to report is that Karen Duffy has to resign due to the illness of her father because she'll be traveling down to the Milwaukee area back and forth. So I'm very sad about that. I have a board meeting a week from tomorrow. So we'll find out. I have a feeling Matt will be, Strander will be taking over again as he has been president in the past.
Okay,
But it's not set in stone yet. Hayward Library Foundation is sending out a holiday fundraising letter, and I'm hoping that will increase their 2023 gift back up to where they've been the last 2 years. So cross our fingers. And this is just to show you, give you an example of some of the different organizations who use the meeting room, and you're very welcome to use the meeting room as well. It would be free for you. So, and one last thing I noticed is Sherry still there? I can't.
Yeah, she's still there.
Okay. Sherry, I just wondered if you are automatically informed when Hayward is mentioned in an article, like in the Milwaukee Journal. Yeah, she might not.
She would have, I know she either mentioned at the last meeting or I've talked to her that she has, like, they have Google alerts and
Okay, good, because I saw an article that actually is featuring Stockholm and Pepin County as a Wisconsin town that was ranked the coziest in America, but Hayward is mentioned in here twice. So that's pretty good. That's it for today.
okay, Molly, every year comes budget time, we always face the library's request for more money than the state requires. And I think what you have to do in the future is show why why Hayward is higher than standard. Why should we deviate from that? That's gonna be a bugaboo each year, if you don't address it. But
I did address it. I don't know if people missed it, but I sent a letter to Andy and I also announced at one of the county board meetings that it's because when Winter and Hayward libraries approached the county back in 1995, which is the year that the city stopped funding us. They do work for us that is very valuable. And so I am not putting them down in any way. I couldn't manage without them. But back in 95, there was no Act 420 and the DPI created it so that other libraries who were funded solely by their municipality, which would mostly be cities, would have county money to supplement it. And since we were in the position from the get-go of being cut off from city money, the county is Winters and my only source of, like fairly predictable revenues. Because the rest of our revenues are things that you just donations and fines. I had talked about that over the past year where we get our revenues otherwise.
Yeah.
So all the other libraries, except for Winter, us, and possibly one other library in the state, are funded by both their city and county. And we are not. So that's what's going on here. And in 1995, since there was no Act 420 saying that the lowest amount that counties can provide, Sawyer County funded us less than both libraries requested, but enough so that we could stay open.
Okay, so it appears though, if I'm just listening to it briefly, is that the library is already funded by the state standard, and we're over that by how many thousands? So that's an issue I think you gotta work on.
The library is not funded by the state.
But
No, the state mandated money.
Oh,
The 122 versus, so that statute amount versus what you're actually given, that's what he's asking.
right. And I thought that I just explained it. The county started out when there was no Act 420 with that minimum requirement. So they were trying to help us, both libraries, stay open by donating, gifting the amounts that, well, it was less than what we requested, but it was still enough to keep us open. You were all being very generous because you wanted the libraries to remain open, both of them. And it's just from that point on, the county board members didn't want to give less. And there is a statute that says and I'll have I'll check in with Sherry, but I believe it says you cannot pay us less than the previous average of, the average of the previous 3 years.
Okay, so Andy, on our part, from the county, what does it take from the library to convince you to up the ante? Or, I'm just putting on the spot, otherwise, every year we have the same problem.
Yeah.
And the same results, I'm afraid.
Well, I was gonna go a different direction on that.
Okay.
I think what Molly is trying to explain is that when the municipal money went away,
Yeah.
the county kind of maintained that level of funding to keep the library open. So like she said, it's very unusual to have a library that is strictly county funded.
Right.
Most systems or most libraries, Schooner Rice Lake, Ladysmith, it's actually the municipality picks up the majority of the funding, and the county provides
Supplementary.
funding at base level. What she's talking about with the 3-year average, I don't know if that's still in there, but there used to be, might still be there as a maintenance of effort, where you can't, whatever your 3-year average was, you can't go below that. You have to keep that level at the county by statute. So what I would think might be a good step is to have the system, is it Sherry?
Sherry, yeah.
Waters, or somebody to come in and have a discussion about models for how libraries are funded. To go to more of a joint library agreement or it doesn't have to be just the city, it can be the city and a couple townships
Right.
here that have the
Right.
the users, and have them start putting some money in to go along with the county funding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry,
Right.
question. So, but in lieu of giving you money, the city still does your bookkeeping, et cetera, right? So that's gotta be a lot.
That's what I
I
was
mean, if you had
just
to pay
saying.
if you had to pay a bookkeeper, so I
Oh,
think that what they did was transfer, and they're doing service versus giving you a payment, which could be more than what the payment was, if you consider what bookkeeping costs now.
and if I remember right, the first year I came here, the city, even though they were in the basement of the old Carnegie, they still only donated about $2,000 a year. So this was, I think the library's kind of been living on donations for a long time too. But the city is required by statute to provide the services that they give us, but I want to say that they go above and beyond. Lisa and Kim are fabulous with us, and they allow us to be under their insurance and all kinds of things that would cost us.
John,
Municipality war here, but just hearing this sounds like the city of Hayward sort of skates on this. I think I would like to know more of their reasoning to back out of this. I'm assuming they don't see a return on what they're doing, although the library sits in Hayward, the northwest part of the county, far away from other places. So people are coming, they're coming here, they're walking into a restaurant, they're eating something, they're filling up the app, they're doing whatever. But I guess I'm assuming they don't see that as a value, that they, in essence, their actions are saying that if they didn't have the library, they'd be fine. That's their actions. It just seems like they're skating on this and passing the buck to the county fully. I don't think that's right.
But it might be the same cost if you consider the bookkeeping and the insurance. They might be giving them the same thing we are.
Well,
So
maybe, yeah.
that's a
That
good-
would be interesting to check out.
You're paying for
Yeah.
the insurance, right? They just let you.
Oh, the library, they don't give us any money for insurance. They just allow my assistant director and me to be under their umbrella. Because the more people,
and it's cheaper.
You're paying.
but we're paying
You're
from
reimbursed.
library money. And
well, that's an area I think you gotta flesh out as far as the county is concerned. Otherwise, next year I can see the same discussion and the same results,
yeah,
So,
I'm,
And this group is here to support you, but I guess I see unless we change the approach, we're not gonna get a different result. I'm
thank
afraid.
you.
And what do you think, John?
I agree. I think that's a good point that it's gonna be a yearly butting of heads and, again, I'm new to the board, so maybe, Hayward, the city of Hayward has great reasons and justifiable why they've backed out, but I guess if I'm them and I can say, I don't have to pay this money, pass the buck and the county's gonna pay it, I mean, I'm gonna do that all the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to hold their feet to the fire a little bit to understand better why they're different than other municipalities in the area. I mean, if the library was located right in the center of the county, I guess the argument would be a little different, but it's sitting right here in Hayward. They do get benefits, my thinking from having it sit here, but
Good, okay, all right, thanks, Molly. Anything else? Anybody else have any comments? How about on board, Brian? I guess, no, okay, so, let's see, anybody here from Winter? No.
Nope.
the Winter River-
Should be attached report.
Yeah, that's, other than that, all right, let's go on then to motorized trail. Kathy, you're on.
I don't have any data to share with the group. That's why I didn't turn any in. I'm in the middle of the transition into snowmobile season, so I moved the data counters around. I won't be reading them until well into snowmobile season, so it'll be even another month that I don't have data for you, but I'm excited because we have the additional counters now. So even though we have a large land county, it's hard to determine where to best put the counters on. I'm sure I'll be moving them around throughout the winter. And, even though some of the ATV trails are open, during winter, the usage drops dramatically. So any data right now wouldn't be useful.
question on that. So it's like snowmobile versus ATV. I don't want to say there's controversy, but snowmobile runs smoothly compared to the ATV factor current issue that you're dealing with, right? Or is there people that push back on snowmobile?
There are, one of the committees I'm on through the Alliance, the Government Communication Committees, is the committee that takes in all the complaints that come in through the sheriff's department or just citizens. And I have to say, we get a fair amount of complaints that we deal with. A lot of times, I think, the ATV season is so long. It's a good 7 months, so complaints don't come in as often, but it's a longer season of complaints. The snowmobile season is intense and short and very busy. So we tend to get,
What are the complaints? Are they just all?
a lot of it is people that don't understand the laws. like that you can, in Wisconsin, you can ditch ride. You can legally ditch ride along the roads to go to
Oh.
the trail system, and people don't understand that.
Okay.
One of the articles I intend to put in the paper is going to kind of go over these things, so people maybe will be alerted to that before the snowmobile season hits. Complaints, people not stopping, people still, we get complaints about people with, machines that are over the noise limits. They might have, you know, the aftermarket exhaust systems, which it just drives me crazy when you have that, because you're so loud and there's no reason for it. It's just no reason. And when we, you know, the group that I ride with, when we see people like that, we're stopping them ourselves. We have no authority to stop anybody, but we're, you know, we talk and say, hey, you're getting us all in trouble. Can you just, you know, knock it off? And sometimes we get complaints of people riding off trail and trespassing. That's the #1 reason trails get closed. And so we're pretty vigilant on keeping up with that. What I've found over the past few years, surprisingly, it's not out of state visitors or any visitors that are usually doing the trespassing. It's the local people. When you get to know the people and you're riding around and you talk to somebody, or you're on a ride with somebody and they take a shortcut and you stop them and say, what are you doing? This isn't even the trail. Oh, I've been doing this for 30 years. And, you know, it's that mentality. And so it's reaching out to our local residents and saying, quit taking your shortcuts just because you've been doing it for 30 years. It's getting us in trouble.
We met the enemy is
So-
us.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work involved in just maintaining that. Overall, you know, snowmobiles don't seem to cause as much damage to the ground, so people aren't as concerned about snowmobiling as ATVing, but they're two totally different sports.
One more question too, and if it's a long answer, we can talk about it elsewhere, but I ran into, at the garbage dump in Spider Lake, one of the board members, and I asked her, and I always hear in the peripheral about Spider Lake, you know, the label that from snowmobile, not snowmobile, ATVers, unfriendly ATV land. Her response was basically, you know, like it's not an issue and everything's just fine. What is any thoughts on Spider Lake in general from ATV?
Well, when you look at the map, the overall map, there's a huge area where there's no ATV access. And that is basically in the town of Spider Lake, the town of Round Lake, and dipping into town of Hunter. Those are the 3 townships that resist opening more ATV routes to give people access. Now, I understand what they have a large population of people who, you know, want to preserve their quiet living areas. I understand all that, but there's also a growing population of people that either live here or they are buying cabins within those townships that want ATV access. So I see the problem as it's not a problem, it's
Well,
going to grow into something.
And depending which side you're
eventually.
talking to, I mean, it appears that the latter, the ones that want ATVs, that population is growing.
Right,
And-
exactly.
And the population that doesn't want it, right or wrong, has control of the board. So they, you know, the ATVers, they feel that they're not being represented because the board is, you know, clutching in. And
Right.
the other thing too, I think is a challenge, I don't know, I thought it was interesting that a lot of the people that are opposing the ATVs don't live here. So they're, and then you're balancing the, well, vacation people that, because they're gonna say, we pay taxes, but they don't vote either. I mean, so it's an interesting dilemma. And I hear mostly from the pro ATVers, because I'm like, hey, let live go, you know, so they, in my ear, although it's not really a county issue per se, I guess Spider Lake's the one that stands in the way of that, right?
Well, there are a few routes up in the Sealy Hills within the town of Spider Lake. They're at this point adequate for all intents and purposes, but we're not allowing access, you know, to people that are at their cabins, and that's the big push. It's no longer the connectivity between businesses like it used to be when routes first started being requested. It's now people, they don't want a trailer to the
Right.
trail. They want to get off, come out into their garage, get on their machine, ride down their road to the trail system.
And like for Spider Lake, I guess the snowmobiles are using the ditch access. Does Spider Lake have a snowmobile issue too, or they're fine with snowmobile, I guess?
I don't recall too many problems in that township as far as complaints, a few. But it's been like a misunderstanding, like, especially when property is sold. We had one up along Highway 77. And as an example that, for years, the landowner, the trail is on the right of way, the Highway 77 DOT right of way. But the right of way is not the same width down the entire highway. So there's a section where it goes on private property and continues to the trail that's on the right of way. For years, that property owner never was here during the winter, and there was never a problem. Well, then that property was sold to someone who lives here all the time, and we didn't know that. And so we had some complaints that, hey, why are snowmobilers going right across my yard there? And so we had to address that and put up additional signage. He was okay with keeping it there, but one of the problems was now that he was living there and he was plowing his driveway, the way his driveway is angled, it almost appears that it's a trail when you plow it. I went out there and so what was happening is people that aren't familiar with the area thought that was a trail because we didn't have signage directing them straight. We never had the problem before. So, a lot of our complaints are, have to do with things very similar to that, where we just have to do additional signage and talk to people and straighten it out.
Imagine if you put a beer sign in.
Okay.
For decoration.
Right, yeah.
Well, thanks for that. I know it's a controversy out there ongoing. I don't know what the answer is to it, the ATV thing, but because they had to change their board if the ATVers want to.
Following John's comments, how are you satisfied with the ordinance where that is?
We are still working on it. We're coming together. There's been a few little hiccups, I think, not from my end, I think, between LCO came to the last meeting and they want some things put into the county road ordinance. I'm not, I have nothing to do with that decision, so we're still working on everything.
Maybe we can ask Brian, what's the tribe's position here on snowmobiles? Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So luckily I've been kind of out of the loop in this whole issue. Pretty much I've Jim Schlender's handling everything. So I really can't make a comment on what they want in the ordinance. I imagine it would probably be somewhere along the line of in the draft ordinance, they had a list of county roads that they wanted to approve. And I think the tribe may have taken exception to some segments of that. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. But it was my understanding that, Kathy, I had heard through the grapevine that you were requesting to meet with the tribal governing board. Is that correct?
Well, at the last Public Works meeting, Brian, Jim Schlender asked me to meet with them. I just had some difficulty setting up a time. I've reached out 4 times trying to set up this meeting. So then finally with the contact person that he provided and without success. So I think it was last Friday, I reached out to Jim Schlender and said, I'm having difficulty. Can you help facilitate this meeting? Because I have family coming later in the month and I prefer not to be working during that time. So he said he would help. I haven't heard back yet.
Okay, what I can do is I'll follow up with him today and then possibly get you set up to meet with the governing board if that's what you want.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then going back to Spider Lake, that's been a problem for
Ever.
forever, yeah.
Yeah.
Andy,
Yeah, just on the ordinance, I don't, I think it's gonna be, it is on the agenda for Public Works and hopefully moving it forward. I think where we've ended up with, I think, the Alliance and, we've worked out their issues for the most part, I think, or at least come to a part where nobody's happy, maybe, I don't know. But as far as the LCO, what we're gonna end up doing is, I think just including language that says that this is our ordinance, but any, beware that if you're on reservation, they might have different rules that apply. And they'll have to make, the riders have to make themselves aware of them. or they'll
Was
have
that the article that was in the paper where they could ticket and take your ATV? Is that law
Yeah,
out there?
that addresses that if they do that. That we can't, we can only control the ordinance that's on our county roads. But on reservation property, that their rules will still take priority. And it's also gonna include that riders, it's really weird, we're gonna put that in the ordinance as an advisement. Really, it comes down to, I think more so like what the DCB and the Trail Alliance promote to people riding ATVs is, if you're on a county road, here's the rules, but if you're on reservation trails or roads or on a town road,
Or
different
if you're
rules
on a
might
county
apply.
road through the res, you could get pulled over.
is there good signage out there on the guys?
On the existing trails, I've done a lot of the signage myself personally, and they're for the most part, they're well signed. There's some areas that probably could use additional signage. Now, routes are a different thing. There's only a few actual routes throughout the reservation, and they are currently signed.
Yeah.
The routes are anything on a road, and then the trails are through the woods or
Okay.
off-road.
Well, hopefully Brian can help you make that connection and
Mhm.
we'll resolve that.
Looking forward
So
to
we
it.
can talk about that next month.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Andy, we are gonna talk each month about broadband. What's going on with broadband?
We're dispersing, Novato has their Lenroot project, coming to completion. That was funded, ARPA money funded that, in 2021. It was one of the first awards the county made. So we're going through that process to get them their funds. And then there's some additional, just in the last week, the federal government put out a new broadband map that we are supposed to look through and review to see if it's accurate, and if we have any challenges to it. We're supposed to make those by sometime in January. They're giving it out to local governments, counties, because that'll help guide the additional funding that's coming out in 2023. As to where they'll fund broadband.
Can we get a copy of that next month? What's-
Yeah.
Even though it's tentative?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like, is our county pretty much covered, not covered?
I
half
just
covered?
got the link to it today. I haven't even looked at it.
Which is kind of nice to know. I guess that's kind of in our bailiwick and
I mean,
you are
we're not covered at this point. I mean, I can tell you just by the map we've been piecing together. At this point, we're not. It's still pretty spotty, but it doesn't include all the projects you funded earlier this year.
Okay.
Really, none of those have moved ahead yet because there's such a backlog of projects.
but the map shows those areas that are funded besides those that have been project completed.
Yeah, when I look at it, I'm hoping it's gonna show like the ones that the state has already funded.
Okay, good. Okay,
I just want to let Andy know that it's not going to help with that broad of an area, but we did apply for 2 more hotspots. So my library, starting this week, can loan 2 out to people who have poor internet or no internet access at all. And we'll be getting 2 more ASAP. And I know the Winter Library has them too. So we'll check them out for free. No cost to anybody.
okay, Andy, anything else you want to report about?
Nothing for broadband right now. no.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else have any comments, questions, ideas for next month on the agenda? No, thanks for coming.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sharon.
Stay warm.
Thank you.